What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Friday. Today we're going to talk a little bit about ETBs and some other things, but mainly when we look at the ETBs, I do want to highlight like two or three maybe, bright points in the current market correction. We're seeing some things that are still slowly moving up and should be, I guess, bright spots for some of us investors. But before we get into that, we should look at PokeBeach. They have confirmed at this point a couple more cards from Phantasmal Flames. We're getting the Wooper, which everyone expected. Same thing with the Meowth. You have a couple other English cards that have been unveiled. And at this point, we basically know every SIR and illustration rare that we're getting. And it's definitely a bit underwhelming, I think, at least for me. I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same about Phantasmal Flames not having a Mega Gengar SIR. But this is basically what our set is going to look like with a few exceptions. We'll have the gold Mega Charizard X up top, which is great. We'll have the Mega Charizard X SR, which I also think is an amazing card. We're not getting the Oricorio, that's going to be the UPC promo. We'll have Dawn in there. We'll have a couple of these other SIRs, the Sharpedo, Lopunny, Rotom. And then when it comes to illustration rares, I do believe we're getting the Piplup. We're going to have Wigglytuff in there. We'll have the Dugong as well, Yamper, Flygon, and then Zacian obviously has been unveiled. And then when you go into the second page, there are a couple more illustration rares. I think we're getting like Ludicolo, Togedemaru, we're getting Ambipom as well, Toxtricity. So not a ton of super popular Pokemon. This is definitely going to be a very top-heavy set with the Charizards carrying it. And then maybe like the Dawn will be worth a decent amount of money. And then I see like, Sharpedo, Lopunny, Rotom. I think a lot of those cards are going to be like somewhere between, I don't know, $40 to $60, let's say, in that range out the gate. But that is all I really want to bring your attention to about Phantasmal Flames. Now moving into ETBs, the first one I do want to talk about is Hidden Fates, and the price of the ETB on TCG Player was down about 1.5% this week from like what, 423, something like that, now down to 416. I will note though that on eBay, over the past couple days, like the past 48 hours, there's been a lot of Hidden Fates ETBs purchased. I think last week compared to this week, we're down maybe like 20% in terms of the total ETBs listed below a 20% leg up. So I'm not saying that this is going to turn to anything crazy, but I would just keep your eyes on Hidden Fates over the next week or so and just see what happens on the secondary market. Now, after that, Champions Path, we're up to around $152. We're slowly cutting into the supply of Champions Path. It's definitely not going fast. It is still, fairly dead money in my opinion compared to a lot of the other ETBs. But I also think we are starting to see a little bit of a shift in the market where these cheaper ETBs are being bought at higher rates and people are kind of turning to them. Maybe the one, open product, but two, also as an investment. I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning is, but Champions Path has definitely been moving better in terms of sales volume over the past month or so. Shining Fates has always been fairly consistent in like the, I'd say 6 to 8 ETBs going every single day. Buy it now North America, this is sitting around $102. Celebrations, still a ton of this on the market. I think there's more this week compared to last week. And a lot of these other ETBs, there were more on the market compared to last week. So it's not like Celebrations is an exception, but it's still sitting in that 242, 243 range. Pokemon Go, interesting one. This was probably the highest sales volume week we've seen on Pokemon Go in a very long time, or almost like ever since we started tracking Pokemon Go. And it's getting very close to $100, almost $99 on TCG Player. The Mewtwo top card is still like $80-ish, $83 on TCG Player. And you can see if we come in here, after that, you have a couple rainbow cards. I didn't really realize, but there are a decent amount of cards in Pokemon Go over $5. Again, like nothing crazy, like top heavy. But when you get through the first page, I mean, even the Radiant Charizard's $18 currently. The Peelable Ditto, the Bidoof, is $14. The Melmetal Rainbow card is $10. You have a Dragonite Full Art around $10. You have another Ditto Peelable card around $9-ish. And you come all the way down, you have some of those Dittos, you have some Radiants, some Rainbow cards, and you ultimately end up with 18 cards over $5, which isn't terrible. It really is not that bad. Obviously, with the current market, a lot of these cards have gone up in price over the past 8 to 10 months, especially the Mewtwo V top card. I mean, that's gone from what, like $20 all the way up to 80, so a huge move there. Now moving on, Crown Zenith, we're back to basically an all-time high on this, $226.50. on TCG Player. There's definitely more boxes out there though for Crown Zenith this week compared to last week. Sales volume was down as well. If you guys remember last week, I said Crown Zenith 151, keep an eye on both of these. Crown Zenith has kind of moved to a point where I wouldn't be paying too much attention to it right now. 151's still kind of in a range where I think it's worth watching, but we definitely are seeing it take a hit in terms of the amount of boxes moving. Same thing with Paldean Fates. I mean, this box on eBay, I don't know what it is about the platform, but Paldean Fates just does not move well on it compared to a lot of other ETBs. I think you're averaging like basically one a day by it now in North America, which is very low. That's basically like what we'd expect from something like Pokemon Go, which, spoiler, was almost 3 times higher than that this week. Now, Shrouded Fable, this is interesting as well. The box is up to around $80-ish, but when I went in and looked today at some of the cards, because I haven't really paid attention to Shrouded Fable, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't either, some of the cards have been doing decently over the past couple months. For example, the Houndoom over the past 3 months is up 28%. We're getting fairly close to $40 again. I think it actually probably peaked around $40 back at the end of September. Still not an all-time high, I believe. Back in January, this card was up to around $50, but it's still fairly expensive. And I mean, I do think it's still a decent illustration rare. The Duskull as well, doing decently, up 16% over the past 3 months. The Pheasantipity, this is the full art card, interesting, up around 17% over the past month, now sitting around $23 USD. The very surprising thing to me, though, is just the regular EX is $17. I know the SIR in the set is like $60, and that kind of makes sense. It's an SIR of a playable, but just the base playable card, $17.40. That's basically entering like One Piece territory when we look at some of the prices of super rares. It's very expensive. It's kind of surprising to me that with this much demand for this card, Pokemon hasn't come out with a product where you can get this for a cheaper price. Now, to close out the video, we'll talk about maybe a couple more popular sets, and these are a bit more interesting. Prismatic Evolutions, $137.40 currently on TCG Player, so still in that mid 130-ish range. You do see the odd sale break into the 140s, but still a lot in the 130s. There were more boxes on the market this week than last week. Sales volume was basically the same. Now, the one thing that I think is really interesting, because this was the first week I threw Black Bolt into the mix. I'm also going to do White Flare after this update. I'm just recording the video right now, and then I'll go back and finish that. But Black Bolt ETBs are selling at a very respectable rate compared to Prismatic Evolutions. Not as high as Prismatic, but a lot higher than basically everything else. Even your Shining Fates, your Celebrations, your 151, like those sets that tend to do fairly well, it's blowing all of those out of the water. It's really only second to Prismatic Evolutions at this point. And it does bug me that I don't have the White Flare numbers yet, because I would have loved to do that comparison in this video, but I think it's probably going to take me about an hour to get those numbers, just because there were a lot for Black Bolt out there. So if you guys are in the spreadsheet, you'll be able to go check that out after. I imagine White Flare is still going to be fairly high. I don't think it's going to be as high as Black Bolt, but I could be wrong about that. That is just my guess. And the final thing I want to touch on this video as well, which again, I'm sure you guys have heard like a lot of other people talking about this, but Mega Evolutions down to around $265 per booster box. It seems like the second wave is here, and as such, I imagine a lot of the top cards are going to come down in price. We're already seeing the Lucario and Gardevoir cards, even the gold cards as well, coming down. They'll probably continue to move as more cards get opened and there is higher price competition on those. And then also Surging Sparks. I've seen so many people talk about this, like whether it's on Reddit, Discord, etc. This box is down to around $255. It seems like the vending machines in a lot of areas are still getting stocked, which again, I think is great. Like, this was a product that was fairly difficult for people to get their hands on, especially out the gate. I mean, this jumped from like $140, $120 even, to basically $200 within a week or two. You got all the way up to around $265. The lowest this box has been, realistically, in this whole run, is like $215 back in the middle of June. So keep an eye on this. I don't know if it's going to get that low. I imagine if it gets even close to that price, you're going to see a lot of people buying up Surging Sparks booster boxes, even if they're not in sealed cases, just being willing at that point to take the loose boxes. The other interesting thing to watch too is I think loose packs currently are like $7, $7.15 on TCG Player. The booster bundles are like $40, $42, something like that. So I don't know how much lower the booster boxes can actually go if that's what the loose pack and the booster bundles are going for. Because again, you have 6 packs in a booster bundle. If they're going for 40, multiply that by 6, you're at around $240 for 36 packs. $7 for a loose pack. You multiply that by 36, you're at what, 210 and 40, so like $252 for loose packs. So again, like, you know, having that sealed premium on the booster box, it wouldn't really make sense for these to get all the way down to like $210 if the loose packs are holding around 7-ish. So that's gonna be it for the video today. Kind of boring, but we're also in a period of time where nothing really interesting is happening. More supplies coming to market, prices are coming down, a lot of sealed boxes, also a lot of the top cards. This is to be expected. And honestly, for the longest time, Pokemon investing was fairly boring, right? You'd put your money to work, you'd put your investments into a closet somewhere, a storage unit, whatever, and you'd let time do its thing. So we're back in that period. I urge you guys to exercise patience and just don't freak out about anything. But if you want to see some very interesting moves, chaos unfolding, you can definitely go check out the Forbidden Second channel. I'm not going to say what it's about, guys, because people get super upset when I talk about other TCGs on this channel, but that is definitely popping off right now. With all that said, I appreciate you guys watching the video. If you got some value out of it, if you could leave a like, subscribe to the channel, it helps out a ton. Also, if you are shopping, eBay, TCG Player, Hobbiesville, I do have affiliate links down below. They're free and easy to use. All you have to do is click on it before you do the shopping you already plan to do. I'll get a small percentage of the sale at no extra cost to you, so it's a free and easy way to support the channel. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are in the world. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you in the next one.